Guam? Where exactly is that? Wow, you're from Guam? You speak English so well. So do you guys have like tribes? These are just some funny things that I've actually heard from people who don't know much about Guam. So if you are also curious about the island, I'm here to guide you around this not so hidden gem in the Pacific. Hafidades and Viva Año Nuevo! I'm Danny and I was born and raised on the gorgeous island of Guam. For those of you who have never been to Guam or have thought about maybe visiting one day, this video covers just some basic info about the island, its culture, its weather, areas, fun facts, and you can also use the timestamps below to skip to the parts that you're most interested in. But basically just some helpful info and things that you can expect during your time on the island. And by the way, ancient tribes are not one of those things you'll encounter, just in case you were wondering. Guam is located in the western part of the Pacific Ocean. We are the biggest of the Mariana Islands, and we are also a US territory. If we're using the context clue method, Guam is about 1,500 miles east of the Philippine Islands, about 1,600 miles south of Japan, and almost 4,000 miles west of the Hawaiian Islands. Size-wise, Guam is 30 miles long and 9 miles wide. So if you were to drive around the entire island, it should probably take you about an hour and a half or less. As we are on a tropical island, Guam's weather is going to be typically warm and or hot with some rain scattered here and there. I love to tell people that Guam has summer year-round. It sounds awesome, right? But we do have a rainy season, and that is usually maybe around late August timeframe until about November. Those are usually when you expect to have more rainy days than not. And while your everyday temperatures are going to look something like in the 80s most of the time, it is a humid heat, so you can expect to sweat here and there if you're not well prepared. But hey, moisture is really good for the skin, and I actually feel like that plays a big part as to why a lot of people in Guam look younger than they actually are. And don't worry, it's not a static heat, where you kind of feel like you're choking. It's because we have great air circulation with all that ocean breeze around, the air just feels a lot cleaner. There are about 174,000 people on Guam. So obviously we're not as big as like Oahu, but we're also not, too small like a remote island to where everybody knows everybody. Dividing it up by ethnicities, the largest population would be made up of the Chamorro people. These are the indigenous people of Guam. The second largest demographic would then be Filipinos. And then after that would be kind of a mix between those who have moved from the continental US, along with other Micronesian Pacific Islanders. The island is predominantly English speaking, though there has been, maybe within the last 10 years, has been a resurgence of, love and appreciation for the original Chamorro language. So you probably will encounter a good chunk of people who can speak fluent Chamorro. Unfortunately, I'm not one of those people, but it is on my bucket list to become one, to be, native speaking, connect back with my roots. And then, of course, because we do have a large Filipino population, then there are also those who speak Tagalog. And then a handful of people know fluent Japanese or other Asian languages. And this pertains more so because our economy is very tourism focused. So having those languages in your back pocket can come in handy if you work in that industry. So let's talk about the areas of Guam. Starting off, the whole island is actually divided into villages. But as we go along, just so you know, there are tons of residential areas scattered all throughout the island. So there's not just one village that is known to be just residential and then one village that is just business. It's kind of like a mix. Starting with the north, these would be the villages of Jigo, Dedido, Harmon, some sub-villages like Atacao and so on. I want to say it kind of leans more towards residential, like a residential category, but there are a few like businesses and restaurants spread throughout the north. Jigo also houses the Anderson Air Force Base, and Atacao, or along like the west side, that houses the NCTS. Moving more central, these are going to be the villages of Tumon, Tamuning, Agana, Agana Heights, Barragata, getting to a little bit of like Chalampago and Manilao. This is where you will find a large hub of businesses. Everything from banks, clinics, fitness centers, restaurants and bars, beachside entertainment, and so on. And then you're gonna have your southern villages. These are gonna be like Agate, Santa Rita, Mauricio, Inarajan, Talafofo. And while the southern part of Guam does tend to lean more towards residential, there are businesses and restaurants scattered, grocery stores scattered here and there. Santa Rita also houses the NAVMAG base and the main Navy base. A lot of people just call it Big Navy. Guam utilizes the US dollar, so if you were coming from the continental US, then no need to exchange your currency, no worries there. However, if you are using your credit card, this is just kind of a tip for you because I've just noticed this around the island. Not a whole lot of businesses accept American Express. They tend to lean more towards Visa and MasterCard, so that's just something to know. We have no tax on our purchases, woo! And the current minimum wage on the island is $9.25 per hour. As I kind of mentioned earlier, Guam is small enough to where you could drive around the whole island in less than 2 hours. The prevalent speed limit is 35, but there are maybe 1 or 2 areas that I know of that actually it's 45. So just kind of make a mental note, especially if you are coming from the continental US and you're used to like 60 on the highway. You can only use that excuse for so long, on Guam before somebody's gonna pull you over and say, okay, no, you need to adhere to the new speed limit. We also don't have any highways, no ramps or exits, and no underwater tunnels. During prime traffic times, such as in the morning when you're dropping your kids to school or trying to get to work, your heaviest traffic areas are going to be Dedido, Tamuning, some parts of Tumon, as well as Barrigada. And just like anywhere else, you are going to experience your handful of crazy or careless drivers. It's not anything too crazy like in the Philippines, if you know, okay, where people are kind of weaving in and out without signaling. It's not as crazy as that. However, it's just always a good note to keep in mind to be a cautious but defensive driver. While many people prefer to ship their own vehicle to the island, especially if it's provided by your employer or like if you're a military family, I know you get one. There are also a number of helpful forums and Facebook groups that you can join to explore buying or renting. There's Buy and Sell in Guam, Guam Sellers Corner, and Guam Sell Your Stuff. I know for some of you, the vehicle search process can feel a bit tricky or daunting, but I do have a wonderful personal recommendation who can assist with the buy and or used car options. So if you like her info, just comment auto below and I'll get you connected with my girl. For grocery stores, the most frequent one you will see out in Guam is the Payless franchise. It's kind of like the Safeway in California or Harris Teeter in Virginia. Basically, there's just a good number of those stores all around the island. There are also several Cost You Less locations scattered throughout. This is kind of like Costco in the sense that it's, more for buying in bulk, but without having to pay a membership. Then of course for DoD and military families, you'll have the commissaries, one being up at the Anderson Air Force Base and one being at Big Navy. And then you'll also have some one-off local or Asian grocery stores scattered throughout Guam. Just to note, the commissaries will carry some things that are cheaper than out in town. These are going to be things like canned foods, processed foods and snacks, some meats and some dairy. But if you're looking for fresher produce, then I am going to recommend going out in town to those local grocery stores or the Asian grocery stores. You can also go to the Dedido Farmers Market on Saturday and Sunday mornings, as well as the Thursday night market in Manilao. Another bonus of checking out those smaller grocery stores out in town is that it will have a bigger variety of specialty foods, especially if you have specific food needs like dairy-free, nut-free, soy-free, and so on. While we're on the subject of food, Guam does have a plethora of awesome dining experiences. And when my family and I move back in a couple months, I know we are going to indulge very hard and probably gain about 15 pounds. We've got our local gems with delicious island cuisine. Of course, we have fast food franchises, got a number of great cafes, bakeries, food trucks, the food courts in the malls, hotel buffets, and so on. And there's definitely no shortage of variety in our cuisines. Everything from island food to American cuisine, Italian, Chinese, Indian food, Thai food, Japanese with like sushi and ramen. Okay, I'm kind of making myself hungry now listing all of these. As I pointed out earlier, there is no tax when you're dining out, so you won't see a tax charge on your bill, but some places might implement a service charge. Now, the only reason I bring this up is because service charge is different from your server's tip. So I think it's always best wherever you go to just ask your server, do you get this service charge or who does this go to? Because some businesses might have that service charge go to the whole staff. They might have it just go to the house, like the server doesn't get it at all. So I always think it's really great to ask because especially if your server did a stellar job, then at least I know, to tip them out separately in cash. Okay, so let's talk about distance. This is going to be an aspect for some of you who may be, leaving family and friends behind in the continental US when you move to Guam. So it's just something to be aware of, especially when you're trying to catch up with them. There's an 18-hour difference from California. So if it was 8 a.m. in Guam, then it would be 2 in the afternoon in San Diego. And then it's a 16-hour difference from Texas. So if it was 8 a.m. in Guam, it would be 4 in the afternoon in Houston. The only reason I bring this point up is just, when you are trying to schedule like your catch-up calls or anything, especially with like your close friends or family, it is one of those things that can be a little difficult because you're trying to find a time, this little window that works for the both of you. Because, I don't like calling my mom when it's only 5 in the morning there, or I don't like trying to stay up too late just to catch a phone call, so it's just one of those things to be aware of. On the note of distance, we should also talk about online shopping. Being on Guam, it is going to be a little hard to get certain things the way you would if you were living in the States. For example, some sites don't even ship to Guam, so I would definitely check all the sites that you regularly order from before moving. You may see your shipping fees go up a little bit compared to what you're normally used to. And then of course, time-wise, things are going to take a little longer to get to Guam. So if you are an avid Amazon Prime member, then maybe just lower your expectations a little bit. It's not going to be anything like 1 to 2 day delivery. I love telling people that if you move to Guam or if you're passing through, it is also very easy to travel to other countries surrounding, like especially in the Southeast Asia area. For example, if you were going to the Philippines, that's just like a 4-hour flight. Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, that's my personal favorite. Guam is also close to Japan, which is about a 4-hour flight, Korea, which is about 5 hours away, Indonesia, and Australia. Like I said, if you were just visiting Guam for a little bit or passing through, I highly recommend adding 1 or 2 of these destinations onto your itinerary just so you get more bang for your travel buck. While Guam offers a range of healthcare services, including general medical care, there may be certain specialized treatments and services that aren't available locally. In such cases, you may need to consider seeking specialized care outside of Guam, such as regions in Asia or Hawaii or even in the continental US. Obviously, it's always a good idea to consult with your current healthcare provider, PCP, before moving to Guam, just so you can discuss the best options for your needs. While we are a tropical island, and yes, the jungles flourish on Guam, it's nothing like, the rainforest where you're gonna find a lot of predatory things. I'd say the 2 biggest concerns right now on the island are the stray dogs and the wild pigs. At the moment, there's just no proper control of the stray dog population, so hopefully that's something that gets remedied sooner than later. And as far as the wild pigs, I mean, really, they're more of like a nuisance as they can destroy a lot of personal property. Other wildlife that you might catch sightings of while on the island are things like wild deer. You might also see monitor lizards, just kind of out in the open. It's definitely one of those creatures that it's more scared of you than you are of it, so you just, don't mind it. And another cool thing that you might see on the land are giant coconut crabs. Now, if we're talking wildlife in the water, some of the cool things that I've seen are, when I say cool, I think it's cool to see but not to play with. Barracudas, because I hate those. You might also get a chance to see tiger sharks or even nurse sharks. These, however, you would probably see these more if you were scuba diving in like the deeper areas of Guam. Because we have the reef, a lot of our beaches are very well protected, so you won't really see any of those bigger species closer to the shore. So that means you and your family can definitely enjoy some beach days at ease without worrying about anything crazy washing up on the shore. If you found this video helpful and want to show some love to the channel, then you can click the super thanks button below. You might also enjoy this video with the best places to visit on Guam, or even this one if you wanted to learn some easy Chamorro words and phrases to use during your time on the island. Thank you as always for supporting the channel, and I will see you in the next video. Adios!